Hello, my friends. I have done this video like 4 times and I keep having to stop and then redo it because I get too wah. This video is going to be all about the books and the audiobooks that I read and listened to in 2021. So I hope you will grab yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and just sit back and let me talk book to you. So understand that I do not participate in any Goodreads challenges. I don't even know what a Goodreads challenge is. I've just heard other YouTubers talk about it. I don't participate in any reading challenges whatsoever. I just love to read so much, and I've usually always got about 5 to 6 books that I'm reading at the same time. And it's because of boredom, because I'll read a book like 5 or 6 chapters. I'm like, oh, okay, I wonder what's happening over here in this book. And so that's how I read. And it's easier, I don't know, it's more fun for me to have, just like we ink up like a whole bunch of different pens when we're journaling. This is me inking up my mind with different books while I'm living. That's a good one. Yeah, I should write that down, fold that up, and put that in my pocket for later use. So the audiobooks that I listened to in 2021 were Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I'm re-listening to that again this year because I'm taking notes. The first time I listened to it, I didn't take any notes because I knew I was going to have to listen to it again. And so this time I'm taking notes. I've also listened to, every year I re-listen to the Harry Potter series. So I got through book 5 last year and started on book 6. So this year I'll finish book 6 and then, 7, and then I'll probably wait until 2023 to start listening to them over again because I have a lot of books and stuff that I want to read and listen to this year. The next book that I listened to, and I'm still listening to, is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I will not talk in depth about this video because I know that it can be seen as very political. You will probably find a few of my other books that I'm reading right now political, so I won't go into them. Just know that I am extremely fond of this book, and it is a really great listen. She narrates it herself too. It's a really great listen if you have the umption to want to listen to it. So I recommend it. And then there's one book that I don't have the physical copy in my hand because we've already packed it up. We are moving to the East Coast, and so we've already packed up 3 of my bookshelves. And so it's in one of the boxes and I can't find it. But it is The Desolations of Devil's Acre by Ransom Riggs. I'm a big, huge fan of the Peculiar series, and that was his last book in the Peculiar series. And so I really enjoyed reading that this past year. So here is my stack of books that I have read. And I should have made this stack of books first. Well, it's 2 stacks of books. Thumbnail. Okay, so I'm going to start littlest. I'm going to start paperback to hardcover. Oh, prefacing this again, like I said, there are a book or 2, just 2 books here, 3 books here, 4 books. There's a couple books here that could be seen as, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to tell you what I've read and what I am reading, and that's just it. So one of the books that I read in 2021 was Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. And let me tell you, this was an eye-opening book. Like, it opened my eyes and burned them. The historical significance and the significance still for today is overwhelming. I will not go into detail because I know that this is not a book that many people will pick up, but I am quite glad that I did. And it is a book that, through our homeschooling, that each of my girls will read as well. And of course I marked some stuff. I'm going back and when I read, I highlight my favorite passages, or I also highlight words that I don't know, and then I will write the definitions of them in the margins. And so I'm going back through here and finding all the places where I highlighted, and I'm marking it with a page flag. And because I like to do that in some of my books that require a little bit more, the books that you have to dig deeper into your brain for. And there's a lot of language in here that I wasn't familiar with. So yeah, same for a couple other books. So I highly recommend Uncle Tom's Cabin or Life Among the Lowly. The next paperbacks, I read The Two Towers. 2020 I read The Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring. This 2021 I read The Two Towers and The Return of the King, and thoroughly enjoyed both of them. I always say my view on these books is that they should not be about they should just be retitled as Legolas and Gimli BFFs. That's just what this should be about. Like, there should be a whole other book just about the friendship between Legolas and Gimli. I like that. Yep, so got those. The next paperback is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I read this and I did not highlight in here though because the binding is already so fragile and the pages are just so, I was afraid that I would ruin the book. But I did read it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and it makes me wonder about who enjoyed it before I did. But I will eventually be buying a newer copy of this and reread it again, and then do a lot of the highlighting and the page flagging that I like to do. So this next is a series of books. It is a 6-book series, and it is written by Diana Wynne Jones, who you may be familiar with some of her other works, which you can find in the Studio Ghibli series. I won't go into detail. I will just let you figure that out. And these are the Chronicles of Crustamanchi. I started reading these books. I had read the first book when I was in high school, and it was just this random book. I don't even know how I got it, but it was in my bookshelf, and I picked it up one day and started reading it, and I just enjoyed it so much. These are about middle school and on level, but I was in a thrift store here locally, and I happened to see I happened to see the first volume, which was volume 1, which was Charmed Life, and then The Lives of Christopher Chant. And I immediately knew that I needed to get it, reread The Charmed Life, and then find its brothers and sister books, which I did. If you are a fan of fantasy, if you're a fan of Neil Gaiman, if you like magic, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you will love these books. They are just so fun and so sweet. You can read them out loud to your kids, or you can hoard them on your bookshelf, and when your kids are like, "What's that?" you can be like, "No, don't touch it, that's precious. It's mine." I don't recommend that, but I did do that. When they're older, then they can have them. Not have them. They can read them and touch them while they read them, but they can't have them. They're mine. Okay, now on to the hardcover books. Oh no, I forgot one. I also read Moby Dick. This is one of those books where everybody who reads a lot says, you must read Moby Dick. You must read Moby Dick. Oh no, I have another one. I'm not very organized, am I? ADHD. So I picked this book up. It's been on my bookshelf for a long time in my list of books that I wanted to read, and I was blown away by how hilarious Herman Melville is, and the relationship between Ishmael and Queequeg. I hope I pronounced that right, because that's how I've been reading it in my head the whole time, was Queequeg. The relationship between the two of them is so stinking funny, and like laugh out loud funny. The most boring part of the whole book is when he gets into the part where he tells us all about whaling. Everything you ever needed to know, but you didn't want to know, but you got to know because you're reading this book now. It's a boring part. And then he gets back to all the good stuff. And I'm going to give you a heads up here. Moby Dick doesn't come in until the end. Just know that. Spoiler, I spoiled it for you. However, it's a really good read. It's a great book, and one of those books that everybody should read, I think. I cannot believe they used to read this, and little kids would read this when they were younger. Like, kids back then were so smart. This took a lot out of me. I was like, wow. This next book has taken a lot out of me as well, and I'm in the process of reading it again for the second time. It is Walden or Life in the Woods by Henry David Thoreau. Reading this book, there's just so much in here, and I want to put it in here, and it's just profound and prolific, and every other great P word that you can think about to give to an author and his work. That's what this book is. This book will change your life. It will absolutely change your life. That's all I'm going to say about it. I will be reading this book again. I actually am already reading this book again, and this is one of those books that I went through and I read the first time and I highlighted and underlined. And this time I am dedicating an entire journal just to taking notes on this book. Yeah, that's how good it is. Walden. Okay, now into the hardcover books, and there's only 4 of them. Almost done with this video. Isn't that crazy? All right, Neil deGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I've always wanted to be smart. Not just smart, I've always wanted to be intelligent. I've always wanted to be able to have intelligent conversations with people about different things that may not necessarily be something that I have an incredible amount of knowledge of. And I always wanted to be able to have conversations with people without saying and like. So sometimes when I'm not on camera, if I say like the other day I said a lot of ums. Sorry about that. But when I'm off camera and I say and like, I'm like, stop it. Stop it. Don't say like. Use your words. So I'm trying to read books that will make me smarter. It's only a little bit. I just have to read them over and over again, and then eventually I will be smarter than I was the last day. So Astrophysics for People in a Hurry is actually a really good book, but this is not for people who are in a hurry. Like, this is still astrophysics. So I'm listening to this on Audible and also reading it at the same time, and also taking notes and highlighting. And then there's still so much, like, I had to find like words that I didn't know. I have to look up those words and write the definitions of them in the marginalia. And pardon me. So I've listened to it, I've read it once, and this is one that I'm reading again, because I really want to know. I want to be able to be conversational about astrophysics. It's just something I've always wanted to know about, but it's not. Going back to college is really a bad idea for me, because I'm already paying off student loans for a whole semester that I was on the dean's list, and I, passed 6 classes with flying colors, went into my second semester, had a nervous breakdown, couldn't go back to college, and still can't today. And so I'm paying all that off. So going back to college is just not a thing for me. So I want to read the things that I wanted to learn. So I would probably have to read and reread this book maybe 3 or 4 times before I really before it really saturates. Next book is the same, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. If you're familiar with Vonnegut, you know that he is a controversial author, but he's a darn good author. I'm also listening to Animal Farm right now, but that can be in a what I'm listening to and reading, or what's my plan, what will I be reading and listening to for 2022. There's a reason why they banned this book for kids in high school, I think. It does have some language in it. There is some areas of this book that may not be suitable for sensitive high schoolers, I would say, but nowadays this book would be nothing. This book would be absolutely nothing. In fact, once I'm done reading it, my 15-year-old is going to read it as well, which is the same with a lot of the books that I read. And a lot of the books that I have read in the past, she's reading as well. And like I said before, with Uncle Tom's Cabin, she'll be reading that as well. Now, let's see. Next book I finished is Ink Death. I am going back through it again and doing highlighting and underlining. I like to do that in all of my books because there's just so much that I read and I really enjoy it at the time that I'm reading it. And if I forget to highlight it or forget to underline it, then when I go back, I don't remember what I enjoyed about that. But there's so much wisdom in every single book that I pick up and read, no matter what it is, that I want to remember and enjoy. And so that's why I highlight and underline. And that's why most of the times with most books, I reread them. I'll read them once and then reread them, and then they live on my shelf, and it's like a constant rereading of them. So yeah. The next book, or the last book that I read for 2021, was The Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks. And this is his book of short stories. And if you know anything about Tom Hanks, I mean, obviously you know who Tom Hanks is. Everybody knows who Tom Hanks is, but he's also a writer. And he's also a typewriter enthusiast. That's all I will say. No, he's a big typewriter enthusiast. And each one of these short stories has a little bit of a little bit in here about a typewriter. The first one didn't, though. I'm just gonna say that. No, Tom, you missed it on the first one, but the rest of them did, and it was really, really great. It was such a fun read, and he definitely has a writing style that is not, it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not flowery. There's no flowery writing here. It is very, this is the story, and to the point writing, which I appreciate because I like reading how different authors, I like reading different authors specifically because I like seeing how different authors write. And there are nuggets of wisdoms and kernels of wonder that you can, as a writer, that you can absorb by reading other people's writing. So I really enjoyed that. So that is what I read and listened to in 2022. If you have any 2021, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you have any comments on what I've read, please keep them polite if you can. If you cannot be positive about some of these books that I've read, then I will delete your comment. I'm just saying, let's keep it nice. Let's keep it nice, YouTube. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. And I really hope you liked my new intro. I'm so official. I wish you greatness.